Pay close attention. What you're about to see is Bible prophecy being fulfilled.
Welcome to another edition of YPN News, bringing you news as it relates to Bible prophecy and foretold by Yisrael Hawkins. Well, Zika, exploding phones, preteen suicides, and the cost of war. What do all these have in common? Well, they are all sign of the times that we're in, with the technology increasing, the disease, and wars increasing, all in this generation. But of course, we're going to start off our broadcast today with the ongoing spread of the Zika virus. Well, Singapore is the latest to experience the virus, with its health ministry reporting the total cases now standing at 215. with 26 more cases of infections being identified. The World Health Organization is voicing concern over the quick spread of the virus, which has also prompted a global health emergency.
Malaysian Health Ministry has confirmed its first case of the virus. The disease was first detected in Brazil in 2015 and has since been detected in many other countries.
That's right. Well, here in the U.S., Congress is battling overspending to combat the Zika virus. In fact, a Florida Congressman, David Jolly, held up a canister of mosquitoes. Now, they weren't carrying the Zika virus, but he said they could be. Meanwhile, in Miami Beach, Florida, mosquito spraying was put off a few days due to the public protesting.
Residents testified to local authorities how they have been affected physically from the spraying of the insecticide Nailed. Now, one woman said that her tongue was so numb and shaky that she was about ready to go to the emergency room. Carlos Jimenez, the Miami-Dade mayor, told residents that he was assured by public health experts the amount of Nailed used in aerial spraying was harmless and has proven effective in the actual reduction of mosquitoes.
Interesting. Well, Mayor Jimenez said we cannot just pick and choose where to spray. There is a science to this. Dr. Christine Curry, an OBGYN who's delivered a baby with microcephaly, addressed the protesting crowd. She told the crowd, Zika is real and we don't understand it fully.
Well, now for more on the bees that were killed by the spraying for mosquitoes, we turn over to our field correspondent who's on assignment in South Carolina, Rebecca Matthews, for an informative interview with the bee farmer that suffered the loss of millions of bees. Rebecca, where exactly are you right now?
We're here at Flowertown Bee Farm and Supply, where recently, within the last week, they were just aerial sprayed by the county for the Zika virus, and we're about to go in and see what took place.
At this time, the county says that they do not have any more scheduled aerial spraying for Dorchester County, and that is very good because without the bees, humans wouldn't exist more than 4 years.
That is an astounding statement. And is that because of the importance that bees have with the pollination leading to the food supply?
That's exactly what it is. Without bees, we won't have food to eat.
So you truly have one of the most important jobs in the entire world.
Yes, I have to be a voice for the honeybees because humans have to protect them. Instead of destroying them, we have to make good choices on how to protect our honeybees.
Absolutely. So if you see these sprayings continuing on, where do you see our honeybees in the future?
Well, you know, obviously with the pictures that I've shown the public, they won't survive. They can't survive these chemical sprays.
So to our audience who's watching right now, and if they're sitting there thinking, what can I do to help, what would you tell them?
I would say educate yourself about honeybees. Get informed. Find out what's going on in your county. If you've got honeybees, get in touch with your city and your county and get on a call list. Get registered so that even if you only have one hive of bees, they're so valuable. Just protect them and let everybody know, hey, I've got bees. I've got bees over here. Let's work together as a team to protect these little honeybees.
Well, Anita, we really appreciate you being here with us today, and we are going to speak up and do everything that we can to help save the bees.
Thank you. And as being a voice for the bees, the media is my biggest outlet. That's the most important thing to me out of this whole situation is let's do what we have to do. Let's work together and protect the honeybees.
I'm Rebecca Matthews, live here in Summerville, South Carolina with YPN News. Back to you.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize how important the bees are in the pollination process and all the foods that we eat. So hopefully we can get a handle on this and kind of protect the bee population for our sakes. Well, we'll now take a look at the report that we brought you previously on veteran suicides, the increase and the struggle that many suffer with after returning from active duty. Well, suicides by veterans occur on average 20 times a day. One veteran, Frank Lefnesky, after 2 tours in Iraq and trying to drink himself past the demons that darkened his mind, and after a second member of his old platoon committed suicide, well, he finally got help. With his therapist, he can finally talk about his PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder instead of being haunted by it.
Lefnesky said in an interview with CBS News, "I was immobilized. It's like being frozen, just watching time pass. It's crazy." Now, Staff Sergeant Lefnesky hit his own rock bottom and contemplated taking his own life. He said, as he tried to hold back tears, "I had a great person tell me once, they're killing us over there and they're still killing us over here. And that guy told me, don't let it happen. Don't give them that satisfaction."
He continued, "I used to be jokey. I used to be goofy. I was Frank from North Scranton, and I know I won't be that again." Well, another soldier, Jenny Pakanowski, an Army combat medic, described the battle she fought once she got back home. She said, "For a long time after I got back, I isolated myself in a cabin and drank all the time. Then at one point, I decided I was going to try to do everything possible," she said, "everything possible to feel better. But if nothing worked, I was going to kill myself." She concluded, "God, this is harder to talk about than bombs."
Katan, another consequence of war. Well, Samsung Galaxy Note 7 phones have been catching fire. The company said that it's a manufacturing flaw at the source of the problem. The government is warning most owners to turn their phones off. The lithium-ion batteries that power many of these devices, including cell phones and other electronic devices, have come under scrutiny.
Well, the batteries are unique because ions in the battery travel from the positive side to the negative side, which is separated by an electrolyte layer when charging. The process is reversed during use. Well, Samsung said the positive and negative side came into contact with each other, causing the issue. Walter van Schulkwitz, who studies electrochemistry, said this is a short circuit that would generally be a flaw in the manufacturing process that didn't get caught during quality control.
The lithium-ion battery is popular because it's lightweight and can store large amounts of energy, powering electronics like laptops and hoverboards. Recently, there was a Jeep that caught fire after the owner left his phone inside to charge. Now, Schulkwitz told CBS News that the failure rates of most of these lithium-ion battery designs are about 1 out of 10 to 20 million.
Yeah, but that's definitely scary for the few
That's right.
that actually suffer, you know, the fires and the scares when these batteries actually catch fire. So far, Samsung has reported 35 cases of the Samsung Galaxy catching fire. The company has said for privacy reasons, it will not disclose where those batteries were made.
Well, as for the wars overseas themselves, there is talk of trying to quell them. Larry McGee has our story on the peace talks on Syria and several other developments. Larry?
Major news this week regarding the effort to cease the destruction in and of Damascus. A multi-step agreement was signed this week between Russia and America following talks between the two nations in Geneva conducted by Secretary John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. The two announced a collective intention to cease hostilities in Syria on September 12th, as well as an agreement to join forces in bombing certain common enemies in the war-torn nation. Echoing quartet language, certain stipulations in the agreement are being referred to as a cornerstone of a roadmap to peace in the region, namely that the Syrian government bring a complete halt to its airstrikes against opposition forces. Another key component of the deal is said to be the American decision to sacrifice its controversial support of al-Nusra in preservation of other pawns. Supposed U.S. ally and Middle East moneymen Saudi Arabia are attempting to pivot off the move and hire and recruit the powerful group into their own ranks, urging al-Nusra leaders to declare that their objectives are the objectives of the Syrian people. The loose and shaky alliances between mercenary groups and their puppeteers is characterized by infighting, however, creating a chaotic web of greed and disloyalty that makes it difficult to say who is genuinely for who or how long any supposed alliances may hold together. The Russian and American announcement is once more big news, but analysts have been quick to point out that there have been other such agreements made by the two powers in the past. But the destruction of Damascus is still ongoing. The ages of those whose lives are being destroyed by bullying is reaching a heartbreaking low. This week, a 9-year-old child committed suicide after having undergone months of torment in school. Jackson Grubbs was found dead in his West Virginia home by his parents due to injuries that police say appear to have been self-inflicted. Jackson is reported to have fought back against his tormentors, but that was apparently insufficient as a solution, and there were reports of a change in the third grader even prior to the tragedy. Jackson's grandmother posted a letter from the young man's sister to social media which read, "I miss my baby brother. I wish that he was here today. Fly high, brother. We miss you so much and we love you." The young lady concluded by asking for bullying to stop now. Just as much as people's hearts are sinking from the Earth's activities, the Earth itself is also sinking. Recently, a massive sinkhole opened up underneath a storage pond in Florida, draining 200 million gallons of contaminated water into one of the state's main underground drinking supplies. Mulberry Mosaic Plant is the actual location of the incident. Authorities say the sinkhole manifested beneath a pile of gypsum and subsequently contaminated the large body of water. David Jetterson, a former senior director of the Environmental and Phosphate Project, says, however, that groundwater moves very slowly and thus absolutely no one is at risk. For YPN News, I'm Larry McGee. Katan Jeff, back to you.
I guess we'll see how long it actually takes them, if they can, to clean up the water supply since it's in an underground aquifer.
And what's even worse now, Katan, they're saying that there's possibility this water was radioactive.
Well, that just adds to their problems. Well, we've heard a lot about presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's emails, but new light is being shed on former Secretary of State Colin Powell's as well. The leaked emails reveal information about Israel's nuclear program and its primary target, Iran. The hacking group DC Leaks obtained emails Powell had sent to a business partner, and in them he admitted that Tel Aviv had 200 nuclear weapons pointed at Iran.
Wow.
Yeah.
He also openly disagreed with the Israeli Prime Minister's comments during his 2012 UN speech, in which Benjamin Netanyahu said, speaking of nuclear weapons, Iran could produce the nuclear detonator, the fuse, in a lot less time, maybe under a year, maybe only a few months. Now, Powell remarked in the email that this statement was exaggerated.
Well, Israel's policy on its own military program has remained obscure over the years. Experts estimate they may have as many as 400 nuclear weapons, but the actual number is uncertain. An additional email sent by Powell also acknowledged Iran has the right to enrich uranium. He also approved of the nuclear deal with Iran.
We know that more than 400,000 people have died and millions more have lost their lives in the bloody war Syria has been fighting since 2011. Now, this next video, however, suggests why the war has not been brought to an end by the major world powers, and even its title, Katan, gives us a little bit of a clue. It's called War on Syria, Making a Killing. Take a look.
Syria has been witnessing a bloody war for the past 5 years. The unrest has already claimed hundreds of thousands of lives, and caused millions more displaced. The Syrian government blames a number of foreign countries for fueling terrorism in Syria. Now a report is out by journalists from the Balkan Investigative Reporting Network and the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project. According to the document, some Eastern European countries have sold over $1.3 billion of arms to Middle Eastern countries in the past 4 years. They were later supplied to Syrian militants. The trade is said to have been coordinated by the American Secret Service, the CIA. The weaponry includes thousands of AK-47 assault rifles, machine guns, mortar shells, rocket launchers and anti-tank missiles, as well as aging T-55 and T-72 tanks. The munitions were shipped from Bosnia, Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Montenegro, Slovakia, Serbia and Romania. The arms were sent by sea or air to Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the United Arab Emirates or Turkey, and then shipped to the war zone in Syria. They were mostly sent to Saudi Arabia, one of the main supporters of anti-government militants in Syria. Saudi Arabia alone secretly imported 18,500 rocket launchers, 10,000 AK-47 guns, 300 tanks and 250 anti-aircraft guns from the European countries. Other European countries have already sold huge quantities of arms and ammunition to Saudi Arabia, arming the oil-rich US-backed monarchy to the teeth. The purchased arms from Eastern Europe have been routed to Syria through 2 secret command hubs in Jordan and Turkey. The Saudis have also airdropped weaponry to their mercenaries in Yemen. Saudis and Turks have supplied arms to the extremist groups in Syria, which are not supported by the US. The United States itself has also directly purchased large quantities of arms from Central and Eastern Europe and sent them to Syrian militants. They ultimately fall into the hands of terrorist groups such as Ansar al-Sham, the al-Qaeda-affiliated Jabhat al-Nusra, rebranded as Fatah al-Sham, and Daesh Takfiri terrorists. Such arms trafficking may have breached EU and international laws on arms exports.
Well, war is definitely big business.
And making a killing they are. Well, North Korea has pushed the button again. On the morning of September 9th, 2016, Kim Jong-un and his military officers watched the testing of their 5th nuclear weapon. The North Korean state television celebrated the test as a success. The bomb was the strongest yet, however, still smaller than the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima, Japan in World War II. But the North Koreans are advancing their nuclear program at a rapid pace and seeking to fit a compact warhead onto a missile.
President Obama, just returning from the G20 and East Asia summits, called the test provocative and destabilizing. The president also said the United States condemns North Korea's September 9th nuclear test in the strongest possible terms as a grave threat to regional security and to international peace and stability. Now, pointing out that they are the only country to have tested nuclear weapons in the 21st century.
Interesting. An emergency session of the United Nations Security Council in New York was called on Sunday, September 11th, to address this situation. China, a strong ally to North Korea, urged the council to act carefully in their response to the missile launch. U.S. Ambassador Samantha Power told members of the press North Korea is seeking to perfect its nuclear weapons and their delivery vehicles so that it can hold the region and the world hostage under threat of nuclear strike.
Kim Jong-un is also focusing on increasing the country's ballistic missile capacity. The country launched 3 earlier such missiles during the week while the G20 summit was underway in China. Now, what is feared by the UN is that with each test, North Korea's capabilities become better and better.
While President Obama promised more sanctions will be imposed on North Korea as a result of its latest nuclear tests, Russia is urging the international community to find new ways to respond to Pyongyang's aggression. In a statement, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the current situation shows that maybe diplomats should be more creative than just responding with sanctions again on any aggravation of the situation.
He expressed deep concern at such retaliatory actions, saying, "I am convinced that by condemning those dangerous exploits of the North Korean government, We must refrain from steps that could lead to a further escalated tensions and put this region on the verge of, we may say, armed opposition. Now, case in point, Katan, Pyongyang has said that their latest moves were in response to the hostile policies of Washington and Seoul.
So we're seeing that tit for tat.
Absolutely.
Taking place
Back and
amongst
forth.
the nations. That's right. Well, Foreign Minister also reminded everyone to seek hope in the six-party talks aiming to dismantle the North Korea nuclear program. The talks have been suspended since 2008, however, when North Korea walked out of negotiations, and attempts to restart have been as recent as 2013, but without success.
As if tensions on the Korean peninsula weren't high enough, South Korea just held an international arms exhibition outside the capital of Seoul to help boost their arms exports. Among their top priorities, South Korea is focusing on arms deals with the United States and other major weapons traders.
Interesting. While the country had been experiencing gains in arms exports in previous years, 2015 saw exports fall below $3.5 billion dollars. More than 200 companies from 35 countries gathered for Defense Expo Korea 2016. With a healthy demand, organizers are hopeful for South Korea's weapons sales.
Now, countries have always tried to show their power through a display of military force. With globalization, the arms race is getting more intense. A spokesperson for Korea Defense Industry Association at the show was indicating the focus for South Korea is their arms exports.
That's right. Well, the United States, South Korea's strong ally, remains by far the leading global arms dealer with more than 30% of the market share. South Korea has already unveiled plans to expand military cooperation with the U.S., and Lee Hyol-sub of Korea Aerospace Industries commented, "The U.S. Air Force project will be the biggest defense export in South Korean history."
He continued, "The importance of the U.S. market cannot be stressed enough. If we succeed in winning this project, we will obtain key leverage to expand to many other countries in the Middle East and Asia, which are waiting for the U.S. decision."
The global arms trade is a huge business, now reaching $100 billion a year and growing. As the weapons business grows, well, new clients are being sought, particularly in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East.
And to give you an idea, Katan, of just how much is being spent on war, the U.S. spent $4.79 trillion on wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, and Syria since 9/11.
Wow.
And that doesn't include money spent on veterans or any war loans.
Oh, wow, amazing.
Well, in 1934, a group of physicists received their patent for the first nuclear bomb. At the same time, a child was born. Over the next 82 years, both would develop. One for destruction and annihilation of mankind, the other for the saving of mankind. All of this has come down to the very days we are living in. Soon we will see the nuclear bombs destroy and the house of Yahweh, led by Yeshua Hawkins, protected. You have the opportunity to be part of the greatest gathering ever in the history of mankind. Contact the house of Yahweh today and find out how.
And when you contact the House of Yahweh, don't forget to request your free copies of the monthly newsletter and the Prophetic Word magazine. To contact the House of Yahweh, you can write them at P.O. Box 2498, Abilene, Texas 79604. Or you can call them at 1-800-613-9494. Or visit them on any of their websites at www.yahweh.com, www.yisroelhawkins.com, www.yahwehsbranch.com, or visit them at www.ypnnews.com. You can also email them at info@yahweh.com. And for all calls outside the United States, please call the number on your screen. And don't forget the latest and greatest study resource to the Holy Scriptures, the Israel Says program, where you can find that at www.yisroelsays.com.
Well, don't go anywhere. Up next is another exciting message from Yeshua Hawkins. From all of us here at YPN News, I'm Jeffrey Heimerman.
And I'm Katan Alexander.
Thanks for watching.